I'll probably get in trouble for saying this, but I've got to say it. Using educational materials in your marketing and prospecting can be a slippery slope for financial advisors and even financial educators and course creators in many cases. Let me tell you why, because it may not be the reason that you think. And I think the point is driven home by a poll done in 2023 that showed 71% of Americans had bought at least one lottery ticket, but only 33% had even had a conversation with a financial planner. Not 33% had hired a financial planner, but had even spoken with one. Now, when you think about that, I guess it's not that surprising because we know how. We've spoken with people. We know how they are. But here's what I think it illustrates. People know the chances of winning the lottery are very small, but they hold out hope that they'll have easy riches. People also, I think, know that comprehensive financial planning is not easy, but they hope that they can do it themselves. And they think with all the education that's already out there, everything they can Google, everything they can find on CNBC or in the various places, they think that they can do a good job by themselves. They may think, some people still think that Social Security will be enough for them, maybe not many young people, but they still think that they're going to have time to figure it all out. And so buying a lottery ticket is easy and inexpensive. And reading educational materials is easy and inexpensive, but they don't want to hire somebody. I shouldn't say they don't want to hire somebody, but getting someone to the place where they want to hire somebody is more difficult. And so education can help with that. But again, it's a slippery slope. So I want to point out a few things. Number one, there is a percentage of people who will be do-it-yourselfers no matter what. They've said, there's no way I'll ever pay somebody to handle my money or to really even advise me on my money. I want to figure this out on my own. I don't trust banks. I don't trust professionals. I think the whole game is rigged, right? There's a percentage of people like that, and you can't convince them no matter how much education you give them or how much anything you give them, right? There are also people who they want planning, but they won't do it themselves. And there's no amount of anything you could do that would convince them to try to do it on their own. They just want to hire someone to handle it, right? Those are good people to attract. And education works well for them for one of the reasons that we'll talk about in a second. But really, your education has to target the people in the middle, which is the majority of people. They're not totally opposed to doing it themselves, or not totally committed to doing it themselves, rather, and they're not totally opposed to getting help. So your education needs to attract those people. And so education is great insofar as it's good for the search engines and social media platforms. They like that stuff. The algorithms favor it in many ways. But when it comes to working in the minds of the people that you're trying to attract, you really need to do three things. Empowering and helping is something that we want to do. And we can help the people who will never hire us by giving good information. Of course, good educational material is helpful for the world. It's kind of the rising tide that lifts all ships. So you want to do that. But at the same time, you can contribute to the number of people who think, maybe I can figure this out on my own with enough really good educational content. And you probably don't want that if you're making money working with clients. You may make that decision if you're selling a course or some kind of educational material where you get paid to provide education. But then you don't want to provide all that education before they pay you, right? So education in marketing is slippery in that respect, but you do want to do some empowering. The other things that you want to do here, where you need to think differently, I think, the education you provide needs to create insecurity. It sounds tricky when I say it, but providing the education, providing information that you know and they don't, your readers aren't unaware of, it can open their eyes to certain things. But you also want to spark their thinking that I really do need a professional to help me with this. This is not something I could probably do on my own. This is not something I can stay on top of effectively and maximize without the help of a professional. So you need to have elements of that. If you earn your money from working with clients, you need to have pieces of your marketing that create insecurity. That's what makes people buy. Really, that's what makes people buy. Education is not why people buy. People have motivational emotions that make them buy, make them make choices in their own, benefit or for their own purposes. So your education isn't just for the mind. Your education needs to also move their heart. Instability is one of the moves that you want to make. And then the other thing that you want to do is your education should establish you as an unassailable authority and expert. So that for the percentage of people who, number one, just want to hire somebody, they say, I'm not doing this on my own. I know that. I need to hire somebody. And they don't necessarily want to go to, one of the big firms. They want personal attention from maybe a small firm or whatever. You want to set yourself up as an unmatched authority in your area of expertise, a trustworthy expert, and someone who can speak specifically about and help in a particular area more in ways that other people can't. So your education needs to do that, create an aura of untouchable authority and expertise for those people who definitely want help, and also for the people who are not sure what's going to happen. They're just learning about money or learning about what they want to do with their financial future. Your education can create that level of authority and expertise and specialization that people say, okay, if I work with somebody, it's going to be this individual, this firm. And also paired up with that level of insecurity. And your expertise can do that. Like, I'll never be smart enough to do that. I'll never be plugged in enough to figure these things out and to stay on top of them. And so I want to work with this individual or this firm. So you want to have, again, empowerment, which is what we all do. We're teaching because we want to help people and we want to show people that there's hope for them, that they can have a brighter future. But you got to go further. You want to create instability for their own good, because you're not trying to make them feel bad about themselves. You're just trying to show them that they need help more than they can probably do on their own, for the people who can't do it on their own. And then also you want to create, again, unassailable authority and expertise, so that people will say, this is the firm for me. This is the individual I want to help me. And I do need help. So for the people who want to help you, or the people who definitely want someone to handle their money or to do their planning for them, they pick you. And for the people who are undecided, that they'll also pick you. So you can go too far with education in terms of, if you give away everything, people, they may not feel they need help. And education in and of itself does not change people's decisions in most cases. They make their decisions for emotional reasons. So if your educational material can cause emotions that make people, extra hopeful, then maybe they'll take action. Of course, you want to make sure that they're taking the action that you want them to take. Or if they're fearful, we talked about that in a previous video. If they're fearful, they look for safety, security, and that can be a benefit to you and to them as well. So those are just a couple of examples. But be careful with education. Be mindful of how you're giving out information, because you want to move people in a way that the best thing for them, you should believe this, the best thing for your people is to hire you, to work with you on a continual basis. Or again, if you're selling courses, to buy your course so they can get in-depth understanding of the strategy or the concepts that you want to share with them. The best thing that they can do is to work with you in whatever way that you service the world. And your education needs to work to that end, not just give away all the information that they need to do it themselves, or become one of a trillion pieces of content online that provides more and more information that people don't ever take action on.